Hello, company, and welcome to the Show People podcast, the podcast that shines a spotlight on the UK performing arts industry and those dedicated to their craft. My name is Andrew Keates. I'm a theatre director and the artistic director of Queer Theatre and your host. Please welcome back to the stage, Jack Holden. Jack, I would like to go cruising.
Feel free.
And this is the area. Cruise. Tell us how the idea came to you doing such a wonderful thing.
The idea to do the play literally came to me in the actually space where a lot of my ideas come, which is the moment where I wake up. There's something happening in the brain there where some chemicals are meeting and it's quite trippy. And I saw myself on stage in a Harrington jacket, jeans and DMs, and there was a neon sign above me that said cruise. And I was like, that's that show I've been thinking about since 2013 when I volunteered at Switchboard, the LGBT plus helpline. And I heard this story about a guy who had moved to Soho in the 80s, had found the gay scene, such as it was at the time, but had contracted HIV in 84, was given, at most 4 years to live, so a death sentence, and decided to party for the rest of his days and, go out with a bang, only to then actually just survive until effective medication came along and then go on to live a long, healthy life. And it struck me back then as the most bittersweet story to be given life back, but to have so much that makes life worth living taken from you. How do you start again? What is life then? So when I saw that image when I woke up that many years later, I knew that was how I wanted to tell that story. And I'd been doing morning pages, and those morning pages turned into the first bit of text for Cruise.
It's a masterpiece.
Oh, thank you.
It's a masterpiece. I think it's one of the most beautiful interpretations of one of the most impossible times. How did you stay faithful and honest and true to that era without necessarily living through it?
Yeah, I think, yes, you obviously don't have to have lived through things to be able to write about them, but you often, a lack of lived experience or just really good research makes something bad. So I just did lots of research, and that didn't mean necessarily pure formal research. It meant reading a lot of the other plays that dealt with AIDS. But I guess part of the reason behind writing Cruise was I felt that there was not enough writing about it from a British perspective. The stuff that I had, read was Angels in America and The Inheritance and As Is, The Normal Heart, As Is, Rent. There was a lot from an American perspective, and I just was sort of really curious about the British perspective, especially the London one. So I wanted to write about it, and about Soho at the time, because it was also about music and Soho and the bars and clubs and the spaces that made up that community as well, which obviously have been disappearing.
Yeah. I remember with such fondness the way that you described the Colony Club, for example, which is long gone. What were some of your discoveries in your research that you remember? Or any stories that were shared with you that ended up in the piece?
Oh, well, the whole thing is just everything I've ever been told. That was a remark my boyfriend said to me was just, you put everything into that play, kitchen sink and all. And it is, the Colony Club scene, the whole thing of Cruise is structured sort of like an odyssey. It's a hero's journey, and it's all based, it's sort of, that's the highfalutin way of saying he stops off at lots of different islands, aka clubs, and meets magical helpers along the way, all who teach him different things. And in the Colony Club, he meets Polari Gordon, who is, a man of a certain age who still speaks in Polari, and So that was a joy, getting to kind of write his stuff, give it that kind of musicality.
Can you remember some Polari now?
Oh, Vada the Econ there, you know, oh, lovely lallies, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But also his advice that he gives Michael at that stage of proceedings was advice that a teacher gave me when I was in sixth form, who was gay but hadn't told me, but I knew, and I had told him that I was gay, and it was the end of school. I was moving on to drama school, and I was like, I'm sad to be leaving you, which is, I guess, kind of a weird thing to say to a teacher. And he was like, yeah, but that's what happens. We travel in parallel for a time, and then we go off in a different direction. And that's not, it's sad, but it's not a failure. That's just what happens.
Cruise, you were able to inhabit so many different types of people. And this is probably the question that you're asked the most. But how do you build such a physical understanding of these people? Where does that come from? Is it animal studies? Is it Laban efforts? Like how do you inhabit these physically distinctive characters so incredibly well?
Well, Cruise and Kenrex both have the same movement director, Sarah Golding, who is brilliant and really talks my language. I think she can move my body better than I can. But I think in terms of characters, the whole thing about physicality and voice is just empathy. It's loving all of the characters. And I do love all of them. And I know that I love them because whenever I get to the next one, I go, oh yeah, this one. Oh, we're at this bit, and these are fun. And they are necessarily heightened and big because the audience needs clarity at every stage of the show. Because if they aren't sure who's talking, it all gets a bit weird and everyone gets lost. So clarity mixed with empathy, I think, makes you make bold choices, but they aren't send-ups, and you're not deriding anyone because, it's you are inhabiting them. And so it has to be done with love. And then you end up with something, I think, which is clear, but, real and sensitive.
Let's talk more about that physicality, because I was convinced, especially watching Kenrex, that there was something of the animal studies about it. Is that true?
Yeah, we're certainly, in terms of Ken himself, because, he's had this injury, it's his workplace injury, which has kind of frozen his neck a bit and given him chronic pain. So I guess ultimately he has a different ability, but that's not that's not a defining characteristic, and we didn't want it to be a defining characteristic of him. It's just something that happens to be a part of him. What is a defining characteristic of him is his bulldog-like energy, that he is sort of protective of his core, and he's always kind of looking out the top of his eyes. He's always prone and ready to attack, ready to fight. And so, it was the balled fists and the shoulder that is sort of, it's like a protective thing as well as something kind of related to that injury. So yes, that was animalistic. And then from that as a starting place, once we had Ken, then we were like, okay, everyone else has to be distinctly different from that position. And it was all about centers of gravity and tempos, Laban, pressures and speeds and intensities.
I was pretty sure I can see some Laban efforts in this. Coming back to Cruise, though, there are some characters that perhaps to the untrained eye, some could argue are quote unquote stereotypical. Was that a fear that we would perhaps be sending up a generation rather than finding that the real humanity of that generation that we lost?
Yeah, but stereotypes are true.
Sure.
Archetypes are true.
Yeah.
And that's what we love to see.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying I don't think I created cliches,
no,
but I definitely created archetypes because we all know them to be true. And I'm not afraid of archetypes when I'm writing. I think that's where we share things in common. Yeah. We don't go, I don't know who any of these characters are because they're all so niche and so particular that I have nothing in common with them. The archetype literally is about what we have in common with people, so, and how we feel quick sympathies with people. So, yeah, Cruise. I mean, yes, I did, as well as putting all of my anecdotes and everything that I'd ever learned into Cruise, I did rip off loads of stuff as well. And I think
Like what?
like Neil Bartlett. I stole a lot of his Ready to Catch Him Should He Fall. There's like a pure, like the core relationship of that. I was like, that's pure Mike and Dave in the 80s and Cruise. I was like, I'm taking that. And there's always a fabulous older woman, and there's always a butch barmaid, and there's always these things are true. So I was like, I need all of it, but my little twist on it. And that's how you differentiate, is you add your voice and your spin to archetypes.
Now, I want to say something really controversial now. And I say this as a director of multiple AIDS plays in the West End, and you, who is obviously so associated with Cruise and the work that you do. How would you feel if I said that with the chemsex crisis killing our community as it is, with us losing a kid every single week to these drugs, to a whole generation that are our age that are having heart attacks because they believe that cocaine can be used at the weekends and there will be no ramifications. I buried 9 friends in 2 years thanks to chemsex, and that number's getting higher and higher and higher. Isn't it time that we stop talking about HIV and AIDS and we start talking about the new plague, which is addiction?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't think it's an either or. I think there is space for everything. And I think,
I just find it insane that World AIDS Day comes around and we should remember those we've lost. But I'm tired now, as somebody who lives with HIV, I'm HIV positive, I'm very open about it. I came out about my HIV status on stage at the Dominion Theatre. Even as somebody living with HIV, we shake buckets for people living with HIV, and it's a manageable condition. And yet, every single weekend, every single day, ambulances are being called for gay men taking drugs that never existed before. And I can't help but feel like we need to change our focus from HIV and AIDS to addiction.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think having written Cruise, it was something I really felt I needed to do because it was an elegy and also a tribute, but also, yes, it was a lot of me dealing with my fear of the spectre of AIDS. And The Line of Beauty was a sort of extra chapter in that whole thing for me. But personally, it did make me feel that I have covered that as a writer. And not that I don't think it's an important subject anymore, but I have connected with that as much as I can as a writer. I wouldn't be able to shed any new light on it now. And it might be that a writer coming up now can actually look at it from a new angle. That extra passage of time will give a different perspective on it, and I don't think we should be afraid of looking into the past for the answers to the current questions.
Quite.
I think people often think that, like fighting to get The Line of Beauty on at the Almeida, a lot of the question was, why now? And I was like, well, because the 80s built this country as it is now. Yeah, that's the why now. But also, why tell any story from the past? Because it's how we got here. It's a bit of how we got here. So I don't think we need a moratorium. Certainly not when there's 50 productions of Hamlet on a year.
Yeah.
But I think, I agree. We need to, as a community, talk about the other things that are
killing us.
Yeah.
What was it like talking to those that survived the 80s and being reminded of the ghosts of the past? It must have been hugely healing.
Yeah, I mean, the most rewarding part of Cruise was, walking out of stage door and often just people throwing their arms around me and crying and saying that was it.
Yeah.
And also then laughing, going, I went into that club and it wasn't that shit. And then their friend going, it was that shit. But I think this, the whole thing was a really important act of intergenerational outreach, really. It was, obviously, I wanted to be a star and I wanted to like get my rising scene, especially coming out of the pandemic. But it was, the whole, I didn't even question the like authenticity of it, to be honest, because I was just I was like, I need to do this for the community. I need to pay tribute to these people. I feel so indebted to them. I need to forge this link of intergenerational kinship. I'm doing this. And I didn't even think twice.
Yeah, what a privilege that you and I, being the age that we are, like, thanks to us managing HIV/AIDS, like, we get to be a generation that a younger generation can look up to.
Yeah.
When there's a whole generation that we didn't have that because they were dead.
Yeah.
And those that survived had survivor's guilt. And I mean, it's so hard to explain to younger people what it was like going, there was no good gay people for me to find. Unless, of course, I went on the internet. I went into chat rooms, the times of Gaydar and gay.com, just desperately trying to find another gay person.
Yeah.
Sat in my bedroom with a 56K dial-up modem that I would smother like I was trying to kill it, keep it quiet.
And there was just fear as well. Fear was the dictating emotion, I think, around a fear of like,
what if you find out?
What if you find out? And then fear of, but might they be HIV positive? And there's no way of dealing with that at that time, and all this fear.
You're so right. When I got diagnosed, all I heard as I was in a sort of shock, all I heard was all the jokes I'd heard from, 20 years worth of drag queens, and the jokes that were said, oh, be careful of her, she's got AIDS. Always got to touch the riddle. And I had known all the jokes my community had made about HIV/AIDS, and that it would get in the way of the one thing that I've wanted my whole life, which was someone to love me.
Yeah.
And I felt like a car with a dent in it that nobody wanted because I had that thing. And now it's something that is, I don't even think of myself as HIV positive because it's a pill in the evening.
Yeah. And I think that with Cruise, what I wanted to really hammer home was the actual HIV-ness of it happens very quickly and sort of off screen. And that's not to shy away from it. It just is, there's their life before diagnosis and then their life after it. And because it is that is it, the effects of it on your life. And also I didn't want there to be any trace of, oh, but who got it first and how did it get into the relationship? And because I was like, that's completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
That's the least relevant thing in the world when you.
I had it throughout so many of my 30s when I would share that I was HIV positive and people would say, who gave it to you? And I think in a sort of weird sort of survival, because people thought if I could tell them who gave it to them, then they could avoid that person. I think that was what it came from.
Yeah.
And I often said, I don't know, and I doubt they know themselves.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone to blame.
And that was something that I guess that was also like a real ingredient in around COVID. I was like, this sort of, the difference in response, the war footing across the world to sort out to find a cure for this virus, which was obviously, it took years and years for governments to even pay attention to this.
Yeah, I remember feeling really insulted when I would hear a certain prime minister say, well, these are unprecedented times. And I thought, not for my community, it's not.
Yeah.
But we've forgotten that. We'd forgotten that millions of us have died. And yet suddenly the idea of a contagious virus that we don't know what to do with is suddenly new is news.
Well, yeah, millions of minorities died. And therefore it's not, first order issue.
It makes you really happy seeing that Cruise continues to be performed around the world.
Yeah, me too.
What's that like when you're...
royalties, it's great.
What's it like seeing queer people performing that role for you?
So great. Yeah. Yeah, and non-queer people, actually. Turns out they can do it as well.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. So it's played in South Africa, in Johannesburg and Cape Town, and then it's played in Australia. It's coming back to Australia later this year in Sydney, and then it's currently playing in Mexico in like a wildly successful tour with this like Mexican actor who has like 4 million followers on Instagram.
What?
Yeah, I'd never heard of him. He's like way more famous than me, and like people, yeah, currently, yeah. But yeah, it's lovely. I was trying to get over to Mexico to watch it. I don't speak a word of Spanish, so it would be quite weird. But yeah, it's great. It's so surreal because you sort of, especially when something's so personally connected to you as a piece, for it to be picked up and interpreted by other people is magic. Yeah.
Are the amateur rights available for it as well?
Not yet.
Yeah,
They will
you know
be.
what? I can't wait for when they are.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be absolutely magical to
Yeah.
know that this story can go into communities. Because actually, I think, don't take this wrong way, and I say this as someone who keeps doing fey plays in London, but the power of that play if it's performed in Cumbria,
Yeah.
the power of that play if it's in Portsmouth or Dorset.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait for lots of little Holden clones to tell that story around the regions. I think we need it.
Yeah.
How incredible.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to travel to Crewe to watch it.
Okay, let's do it. Kenrex. It's done quite well.
Yeah.
How many Olivier Award nominations in total?
6.
6.
Olivier.
And I believe an award for Best Actor.
Yeah, up against Bryan Cranston. He's pretty good. Tom Hiddleston. And David Shields, yeah. Oh, and someone else? Is there someone else? I think that's it, yeah.
How does it feel? All that hard work.
To be honest, the acting one is lovely, but the order they were announced in was sound design. And
Incredible.
I was so thrilled for Giles because the sound design is such a cornerstone of the whole piece, you know, immersive audio and so meticulously detailed, and he works tirelessly.
It's a whole character.
Yeah.
It's a whole character.
and it pushes the audience into the world, so it helps me out so much. And then lighting design, Josh's lighting is beautiful, and someone came to watch it and was like, you even managed to make the smoke do what you wanted, which is like obviously notoriously difficult with smoke, and that was Josh. And then it was a musical contribution for John's incredible music, beautiful like period pastiche Americana that sets the tone and location like that.
What I mean, sorry, I can't just jump over him. Like, what a musical genius!
Yeah, he's a. We kind of joke that he's our secret weapon, but like, he actually is. I mean, like, yeah,
A weapon of musical destruction.
yeah, he is. And he's a musical savant. We can say, like, for example, in Cruise, I was like, oh, okay, this is the Colony Club. There was a sort of electric organ in the corner, and Polari Gordon is, dressed in a sort of plum 3-piece, and he's drinking a martini. It needs to be lounge music that kind of goes with that. And he created it within about half an hour and played it. And I was like, yep, that's it. Cool. And but it wasn't just lounge music. It actually underpinned the emotion of the scene, so that when Polari Gordon got to his most emotional jewel of information, the music broke your heart as well. Yeah, he's a genius. And then it was Best Director for Ed, which was brilliant, because often with solo shows, directors get a bit overlooked because, people think, well, what are they doing? But Ed orchestrated so much, the whole thing. It looks and feels brilliant because of Ed. And also, yeah, he gave the detail to my performance, which was also nominated, and Best New Play. Which was lovely because,
And who are the other writers that you're up against in Best New Play?
James Graham,
Incredible.
who I know, for Punch, which is a great play. Ava Pickett for 1536, and Susie Miller for Inter Alia, which is also great.
What company to keep?
Yeah, it's lovely.
Amazing. I want to ask a difficult question, but I can't be artistic director of queer theatre without asking this. It's amazing that you are taking Kenrex to Broadway.
Yeah, Off-Broadway.
Off-Broadway.
Yeah.
But off-Broadway, not off-Broadway.
Yeah.
But I've got members of queer theatre who are refugees from America right now. How do you feel as a gay man taking a play to Broadway with America in the state that it is and the way that it is treating our queer siblings? That's got to be a real tough choice.
Yeah, I feel personally pretty anxious about going to America right now.
Yeah.
I was in the US Embassy getting my visa the other day. It was quite strange, but like I won't say more in case they're listening now. But pictures of Trump was what pictures of it is concerning on many levels. I think I actually heard the advice of a former guest of yours, Sir Ian McKellen, on this kind of thing. So, yeah, like a year or so after I left Warhorse, they were going to take the puppet and an actor to, I think it was Oman, or it was an Emirati state where it was still illegal to be gay. So maybe it was Brunei. And I was like, should we be taking like Warhorse to Brunei for like a PR event? Like what? And I sort of sent an email, a very cavalier email to Nick Heitner and Nick Starr, who ran the National at the time. And I was like, should we be doing this? And then Nick Heitner emailed back and said, actually, no, I don't think we should. We're gonna not do it. And I was like, oh, okay. This is actually, I've never told anyone this in public. And then Nick Starr called and was like, we are going to do it actually. And I was like, oh, okay. He was like, yeah, it's a lot of money. It's important. And also, when Ian McKellen took something to Indonesia or somewhere,
Edward II, probably.
It was a big thing. It was risky, but his argument was that you either boycott or you take art and hope that you change hearts and minds. And at the time, I was like, no, I disagree. Maybe now, and it's not just because my play's been invited out there, but I think the world has shifted around Kenrex. When we started developing it 9 years ago, nobody really wanted to put it on. Now people really want to put it on because it's about a bad American man doing bad things for a long, long time and getting away with it until people decide that enough is enough. Normal people decide that they actually have the power in their hands. And therefore it's going to be pretty spicy taking it to America. But yeah, I mean, New York is its own kind of little enclave, of course.
It is.
But it's, I think, it is also my absolute dream of the kind of stuff I want to make is if the show goes really well and then starts attracting a wider audience that's not just the theatre audience, but like tourists, and it attracts tourists who are right-wing, who are Republicans in town for the weekend, and they see that it's a story about the Midwest and they go, yeah, let's go take a chance in it. Like the moral of the story hopefully will land with them.
You say this.
Yeah.
You say this. I mean, former guest Marina Sirtis, it was Counselor Troy in Star Trek. It's
Right.
She and many other friends of mine who have done that show, they say, there are those people that watch Star Trek, and it's a piece about exploration and morals and good, and then there are other people that watch that show, and it is just about the phases.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and also I think Kenrex has it troubled me at the end, and it's the best thing that I saw last year, hands down. But then I was left with I was left with the same question I had when I saw the musical Thrill Me, which is specifically about two men who killed a child. There is part of me that goes, and as evil as Kenrex McElroy, as evil as Kenrex McElroy was, you have got a play that is dependent on a man dying. That's morally ambiguous to me.
Yeah.
How do you think the family, if he has any family left that will see it, what do you think it will do to those that knew him or those from that town?
Well, the story has been covered tons and tons of times in far more salacious ways by journalists and podcasters, and a bad TV movie in the 80s, and an 8-part Amazon documentary recently. People are really drawn to the story because of its archetypal kind of structure and nature, but also because it does leave you with a bitter taste in your mouth. You do. I think what we were surprised by when making the show, and certainly when the first few performances in previews in Sheffield, we felt that the audience, when Ken dies, are really happy. That he really deserves it. We've built him like such a bad man, which he was, and worse, that he gets what's due. And then there's the moment of reflection where people go, is this the best outcome? Could there have been a better outcome? Which is why we have his wife, who he groomed, Trina, having the last word, because she has been the victim throughout. And she is the embodiment of how this doesn't sort out the problem.
Yes,
there is a complication, and it is human, and it is, the justice system in America is really flawed. But shooting someone isn't the answer. But how long do you wait for the system to repair and reset itself?
It's a stunning moment. I think it's up as one of my favorite moments because it's not sentimental. Like compared to Cruise.
Yeah.
These characters, because Cruise, you were so incredible at taking a color and a flash and an essence of a queer person. And yet, I suppose because of the way that you bring all of these characters together in Kenrex, I just see so many multifaceted characters who have a duality to them. It's just a masterpiece.
Thank you. The story is, I think, appealing because not only the way we tell it, but the normal people are driven to do something really bad. Mm-hmm. Ken is bad. But when normal people do, transgress, I think that's thrilling to watch.
Tell me how on earth you and your wonderful understudy who is hiding in the corner.
Fabian was my Kenrex understudy. Like a proud parent.
Tell me how on earth you look after your body playing so many different roles. How many roles is it in total?
I think it's got a bit carried away. I think people are like, 100, 200, 400. I think actually Kenrex is only 20.
Only 20.
I think Cruise was more. I think Cruise was like 30.
But how do you get your body back to neutral? How do you look after it?
There is this condition that's been coined Kenrex shoulder, which if you do the Kenrex posture enough, your neck does freeze up. So I have to kind of work against that and physio. But the main kind of intensity of doing the show is vocal strain. Yeah, because it's talking for 2 hours, which alone is a lot. But it's pitching it at show volume, but it's also the different vocal qualities that I differentiate the characters with.
Would you share with us some of those characters with that well-placed microphone?
Okay, I'll start high and then I'll work down. But the preacher has this kind of like a very high-pitched voice like that, which I basically based on Truman Capote. I was like, okay, yeah, he's kind of like Truman Capote. And then there's like Lois Bowenkamp, who's like a very head voice, and she's very sort of very judgmental like that. And then there's Richard McFadden, who's like the lawyer, who's kind of like he's very musical and very twangy. And then we get down to like Romaine, who's like kind of growly, and this is where the voice really starts to feel it, because you're like you're that's not good for your voice. And then Ken is even lower. He's like where your vocal folds are really flapping around now. And then there's Bo, fucking ruins your voice, because you should not do that to your voice. That is bad for your voice. So that's them.
Well done. Do you think the show will change at all when it goes to Broadway, and what will those changes be?
Yes, there will be some things. We already had an associate director, American associate director, who joined us for the re-rehearsals for London to kind of learn the show, so he can rehearse the American understudy and run the show while we're out there. And he gave us some great pointers. He was like, that thing, we wouldn't say that. But we kind of kept them in the show because they do help explain to a British ear. But then we will take them out for the American show or change them. But it's going to be very different. I'm kind of most nervous about that first night and about the different reaction, because I've been out in New York quite a bit and like gone to see plays and films, and they are much more vocal, both positively and negatively.
Yeah.
I went to see John Proctor's The Villain on Broadway, which is coming to the Royal Court very soon. And like, there was a huge gasp moment in it and some really like distressing bits of it. And people were like shouting and cheering, and yeah, it was much more interactive. So I'm like kind of bracing myself for the difference in reaction.
And looking at Cruise, looking at Kenrex, which was the hardest show to do?
Cruise.
Really?
Yeah. 90 minutes straight through. And I really didn't stop talking. It was just, relentless. Whereas, and it was always moving as well. And I was sweating and dancing. And Kenrex is much more about stillness and control, and therefore also a lot about silence. And I love the silent bits of it when I don't have to talk.
Tell me more about that, because that requires maturity.
Yeah.
To be able to use silence, to use stillness. What has been your discoveries using that as a tool rather than, say, to perform so much?
Yeah, those pieces happened at exactly the right time for me, because after the pandemic, I was so pent up and ready to like talk and dance and speak and sing. The Cruise had to be a 15,000 word, rhythmic monologue. Whereas, yeah, I can do stillness now, whereas I couldn't do it for the first 10 years of my career. And I think like Kenrex really requires that steady, neutral, out of which all these characters, and it's very detailed and specific story has to be told.
Do you think there will be another form of Kenrex? I mean, I know it's a completely different show, but hey, Richard Gadd and his Baby Reindeer became an enormous Netflix TV series. Do you think the same thing can happen with you in Kenrex?
There are definitely people, wanting us to turn it into a film or a TV show. I think of the two, I'd want to turn it into a film, but also I don't know if I want to. I actually, I shouldn't say that. I really want to. I really, really want to.
Sure.
However, I think we've made it so hyper theatrical. That's the thing I love. That's the thing that that's the experience we're giving people, is in the room, live, ephemeral. There's jeopardy every single night. That's what makes it so magic. And we can find a different way of doing that on film, but we borrow so much from film to make the show that then putting all that back into film just feels like, odd. We might do it, but ultimately then it just becomes like a Western.
Because, and I can tell you factually, I have, people coming into acting classes and drama school auditions bringing work by Jack Holden. How do they begin to prepare to play any of your roles, whether that be Cruise or Kenrex?
I don't think I think like my roles are pretty, accessible, and I'm not precious about them. They they're not. I don't think they're very rarefied. I think the most rarefied piece I've written is The Line of Beauty. But no, I think I pretty much write pretty open-heartedly. So I think, maybe it's that vulnerability and empathy that they just need to put into it.
And how do they discover that physicality and all of this wonderful vocal work you do? Where can they start and find that kind of information? Anyone they can study?
Jim McCary, Robin Williams. I think it's, I think like maybe comedy often gets separated from drama or from performance as its sort of own discipline. But I think theatre as well from film and TV because of the size of these things. But that's kind of what I love about it. It is that it's big and grotesque at times and entertaining, but it's no less true.
Yeah,
comedy is a serious business. Yeah, and like full of tragedy.
Yeah.
And tragic people are hilarious, and and vice versa.
That brings me on to something I didn't expect to affect me. So obviously, when I prepare for these interviews, I have a very surreal task of watching a huge amount of an actor's body of work to prepare. And I'll be honest here. Something that came up was a television series called Marriage. And the first name I saw was Sean Bean, and I thought, oh, right, I'm ready for this. I completely underestimated what has been a 4-part BBC drama that I found excruciatingly painful.
Yeah.
Some of the most simplistic and yet beautifully observed dialogue I think I've seen in a television series in years. And I came away physically angry after each episode. And that wasn't just because it has the famous line, "and I hate his fucking face," in relation to your role.
Yeah. Nicola Walker says that.
Yeah. There's a few things. You're described as a beast.
Yeah.
They hate your fucking face. What does that do to your self-esteem when you hear Nicola Walker say?
Oh, it's great. I love it. Yeah, when she's saying it. Yeah.
Tell me about that piece, because the dialogue is unlike anything I think I've ever seen on television.
Yeah, that was written by Stefan Golochevsky, who wrote Him and Her, and Mum with Leslie Manville. And this was the first show he had also completely directed by himself. And he did position it as a drama rather than Him and Her and Mum were comedies. But it is kind of unclassifiable because it's heartbreakingly funny and also deeply tragic. And what I love about Stefan's stuff is that it's so basically the only sort of screen direction in between lines is he chuckles, she chuckles, and it's just so true. We do it so much as a sort of social signifier of everything's fine or everything's not fine or everything's burning down, or help me. And he just and then it's so pedestrian, the stuff he writes, but it's full of this heartache and torture. So to get to be in it was amazing. And to get to act with Sean Bean and Nicola Walker was, amazing.
What stories can you share of working with them both?
I tried to ask Sean Bean about Lord of the Rings, and he was like, yeah, it was all right. I was like, what was it like being in New Zealand? He was like, yeah, it's kind of boring. He was like, okay. But the weird thing is, because he, I can't believe he won't care that I'm sharing this. He really loves baked potatoes.
Oh, so that's
that's in the show, but in life he loves them. Like catering on set, it's all he eats, and he takes one back home as well.
Has one the greedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just got. I really recommend that you all find it on iPlayer. Do you know what? Some of the most beautiful moments in it are just watching two people dealing with grief, emptying a dishwasher. It's just utterly beautiful, and it's a stunning cast.
Yeah. It's funny. It is quite theatrical. It is sort of like a play. And Stefan's always, when we were filming, he was always like, "Oh yeah, I do write plays, but nobody at the theatres wants to hear from me." And it's like, wow, this is your third TV series, and you feel like you can't get into theatre. Theatre writers feel like they can't get into TV. There's so much sort of, siloing of industries.
Staying with TV, something that I had a lovely time watching. 10%, the UK interpretation of Call My Agent.
Yeah.
Can you just share what it was for those who may not have seen it, as it's kind of I think it's a little industry gem.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yes. Call My Agent was a French show, very successful French show, and they did remake a British version of it. What I later found out was that they hadn't actually cleared the use of the name Call My Agent. No. Yeah, until they were like about to kind of close the edit, and then they were like, "Are we allowed to use the name Call My Agent?" Because it was on Amazon rather than Netflix. And Netflix were like, "Yeah, you can have the name Call My Agent if you pay us £5 million." And they were like, "Oh dear." So then they called it 10%, which was the literal translation of the original French name 10%. So it was called 10%, which maybe made it get slightly lost, but it was also, there was lots of production stuff going on that meant that it kind of overspent and didn't come back. But it was written by John Morton, who's brilliant. He wrote W1A in 2012 and the new show 2026 coming up. His writing also brilliant. It was a great cast. There was another moment where I was like, here we go, I'm set for life. And then they didn't renew it, and I was like, damn. But it was fun.
With all the conversations we've had about Section 28 being a young gay kid, like, do you feel an obligation in a way that perhaps straight people don't, as a gay man, as to how we represent other gay people on screen?
Well, I think you'll see my performance in that and see that evidently I don't, because I camped it up. I camped him up.
Sure.
No, but I also treated him with love.
Very touching ending, I thought.
Yeah. I think, again, like, stereotypes exist. And I don't know. I mean, I filmed 10%, then I filmed Marriage, and in 10% I was playing a gay man who, like, I was like, he's kind of camp. That's my interpretation of him. In Marriage, I was playing a straight guy who was,
obnoxious,
a real obnoxious asshole. And so, like, that's very lucky. I'm very lucky, actually, to have been considered for both those.
Obnoxious to asshole. I mean, that is a range.
Yeah. And
you could be both of my films.
Yeah.
My question is, though, like, is that the end, do you think, of that series?
Yeah.
Oh.
Dead. It's gone.
Completely.
Yeah. 100%. There's no doubt. Sorry.
You've spoken about it a few times. The Line of Beauty. I want to be clear. Jack wrote the adaptation of Line of Beauty, not Line of Duty. Very, very different show.
Well, that would have made me more money, yeah.
How on earth did it come about with you being asked to write the adaptation of such a sensational book?
I love the book, and a very dear friend of mine and I were swimming in the Hampstead Ponds, the men's ponds, which feature in the book. And then we were talking about the book, and we were like, why has it not been done on stage? It was obviously done a screen adaptation sort of 15 years ago. And so I was like, I should check if the rights are available, then take it to the Almeida, where I had performed in Ink several years before. And the rights were available. The Almeida said, this is a good idea. Let's commission you. Again, it wasn't that easy, but that was basically it. And then I was like, oh my God, now I actually have to do it. And it's a 500-page novel, a Booker Prize-winning novel. So the major job was subtraction, just cutting and cutting and cutting until I was left with a lot of Alan Hollinghurst's brilliant dialogue. But yeah, it was grisly work, actually, when you love something and you have to tear it to shreds.
Yeah, I saw an interview with you and Alan where you described that you had the idea of taking 15 characters and merging them into one.
Yeah, practically, yeah. It was because, yeah, you sort of think, oh, okay, maybe I'll just have the actors multi-role lots. But then you're like, no, they can't all play 5 parts. Then it's like a sort of Dickensian kind of, I don't know, improvisation show or something. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to have to reduce this novelistic cast of characters to the core 15 in total. But that meant losing so many people, and across a protagonist's journey in a novel, loads of different people do different things to him. So I had to give a lot of those events and actions to a handful of people, which made the baddie like really bad.
Yeah.
And the, you know, people shouldering a lot of characteristics that weren't necessarily exactly right for the book. So yeah, and it was I really enjoyed it and I loved the outcome. But it I think if I had my time again to do it again, I would actually cut less. I'd make it. My original pitch was like a 2-play The Inheritance style, you know, day at the theatre, and I stand by that. I'd like double the length.
After The Ferryman and The Inheritance, I think we can. Yeah. What's it like working with a great writer like Alan Hollinghurst, for example, and essentially messing around with his baby? Like, was there any friction between you?
No, he was completely lovely and generous and let me get on with it, and only gave me some notes at the very end.
Which were?
He was correcting my French. And he was sort of doing things like, oh no, this person wouldn't be an O, actually, no. And sort of very, very detailed stuff. And actually some of that's, but he was never defensive about, oh, you've left this person out, or you've forgotten this, or why did you cut this? So yeah, I was just, that was lovely, but I was also very worried about, you know, breaking his beautiful book. Although, you know, yeah, also lots of people don't love that book. Lots of people find that book devoid of love, and
That's what the whole thing's about, isn't it?
yeah. So that was something that I learned as well. I was like, oh yeah, I love it, but other people don't. And so it's not I thought it was a shoe-in as a play, but actually it wasn't.
And of all the pieces that you've done in your career, what's the one you're surprised that I haven't asked you about?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I suppose Ink. It was like quite a big play, although
The original page 3 photographer.
Yes, that was who I played.
Oh yeah, let's ask about that. So with Ink, you played the original page 3 photographer who was such an influence on the look of the Sun.
Yeah.
However, you bear no resemblance, of course, to the real man.
Yeah, correct.
How did that happen? How did that transformation happen?
There's a good story there. Yeah, so I played Beverly Goodaway, who was the first page 3 photographer, who was just a sort of jobbing sports photographer, and he was picked up by Larry Lamb, who was the editor that Rupert Murdoch appointed to run.
Yes, to be clear, Larry Lamb, the editor, not the lovely actor.
Yeah.
Very different guy.
And so he just like hired a bunch of people and was like, we're going to make this bold, brash new newspaper, and on the 3rd page we want a naked woman. And so this guy was like, yeah, I'll do that. But I was in the show, I wore this like lank black wig and a tight red leather waistcoat and these flares, and that was a design choice by Bunny Christie.
Oh wow.
It was like, I was like thrilled with the costume. But I was like, this is nothing like the guy who was sort of bespectacled, wore a little dicky bow. And she was like, yeah, this is fine. I want you to look like, I want it to be a show. I want it to be theatrical and cool. So I went with that. But then one night, the guy's real life daughter came to watch, and they said, "Oh, his daughter's watching. Would you like to speak to her?"
Did they tell you before you performed?
No, after. And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." I just bounded out of the dressing room as sort of like waiting for the praise, and she was very upset.
What did she say to you?
She said, "Daddy wasn't like that."
Yeah.
But then James Graham beautifully sort of swept in and kind of took over and, explained that it's a theatrical interpretation. And it wasn't my fault. So, it's, when we are translating anything onto stage, it's not a facsimile. It's not documentary.
Yeah.
The process of it is heightening and reduction and alteration.
I want to get to know a little bit more about you as a man.
Oh.
What's been your biggest failure?
A professional failure.
However you wish to interpret it.
No, it's not big. I wrote and directed this short film recently, and I cannot get it into a film festival.
That's your greatest failure.
No, I'm deflecting. I think. No, I don't know. I don't even. Actually, you know what? One of my biggest regrets is forgetting my mum's birthday one year. And it was compounded because all of her sons forgot.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was bad. And and I felt so like stomach churningly ashamed in the moment, and I actually still feel that exact level of shame now, because we were all just self-absorbed, and we let her down, and it was the most ungrateful thing to have done.
Feel free to say that you don't want to include this, but from what we were talking about earlier, your mum obviously has a debilitating condition that's something that you have to look after. What's it like having all of this success, knowing that your mum has motor neuron disease?
It's actually my stepmom. Yeah.
Stepmom.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I won't get into it in detail, but basically, I suppose it's taught me that it's incredibly humbling, because your career can be, it's seemingly never ending on the up, but life just isn't listening to that.
Yeah.
And I think Tom Hanks's advice is always, this too shall pass, the good and the bad. So, if you're having a tough time, it'll pass. If you're having a good time, it'll pass. Mm-hmm. You'll be back in neutral or worse again. And this, currently it feels like it's sort of moment to moment.
I think we get so drawn in by people's success on social media going, well, everything's great for Jack Holden. He's going, off-Broadway. He's got all these Oliviers. And we imagine that life stops getting lifey. And my experience, actually, the more wonderful things in my life, the more the universe corrects it and go, oh, I'm just going to give you this lesson.
Yeah, but of course, there's none of that. It's just sort of colder than that. It's just random.
That cute little kid you described right at the beginning of when we started this conversation a few hours ago, what do you think he would think of you now?
Looking a bit older. But doing pretty well, yeah. No, yeah, doing exactly what he dreamed of doing.
I think he'd be very proud of you.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
You talk a lot about love in your work. It seems to be the defining, in so many different forms, and this need for love. Why is that? Is love your ultimate thing that you need, or is it really just theatre?
I think, no. Love is what it's all about, isn't it? Wait, did I see that in a film the other day?
Love is a many splendid thing. Love lifts you up where you belong. All you need is love.
I did. What did I film that I watched the other day? It was like, it's just all love, isn't it? I don't know. Is it Interstellar or something? I don't know. Anyway, Yeah, I mean, it is, isn't it? I think I definitely used to be I think I am still a romantic. I used to be a romantic. In fact, when I was 16, I was like trying to sneak out of the house to go on a Valentine's date with like a picnic basket.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, "Where are you going?" And I was like, nowhere, to meet a friend." And he was like, "On Valentine's Day with a picnic basket. Who? Which friend?" And I said, "I no, it's no one. You don't know them." He's like, "We're going to meet someone I don't know. Who is it? What's going on?" And eventually he was like, "Okay, do you want to know what me and your stepmom think? We think you're going to meet a teacher." I was like, "What do you think of me?" I was like, "No, I'm gay. I'm going to meet a guy." He was like, "Oh, okay." But yeah, I literally like, yeah, made like a picnic, warmed some things up and put them in a Tupperware and took them to like a pretty skanky field near me, but laid out a blanket and we had a picnic and then we got really cold.
I'm a 40-year-old gay who, is around Clapham Common all the time.
Well,
This is the summer that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. This is your everyday. But yeah. But then no, so that was romantic, and I think now I'm sort of, yeah. I guess, yeah, love.
What has all of this success cost you?
Well, definitely. When I was acting long theatre contracts, I would miss life events and just lots of evenings and weekends. And I think those are important times. But I think I've got that into balance a bit more now. It helps that I'm writing more now. I have a bit more control over my time. Yeah, and I suppose I certainly don't regret the struggle years, because they have informed everything I do now. It's just missing out on things, missing out on life events and things I now will never, I can't make up for, and that's sad. But that is the path to choose.
I mean, you have almost achieved all the things that an actor and indeed a writer would ever want to achieve. What on earth else do you want to do?
Well, I want to write for TV and film, and I've been chipping away at that for ages, but that takes a long, long time to come to fruition.
That really surprises me, because when I think of you, I think of a man who adores the theatre. Why is film and TV so alluring when your passion is clearly a stage?
I think it certainly wasn't my first love. It's something I've come to love, and I love the different crafts of it, and ultimately that it is another means to an end of making people smile and feel good. It's definitely, theatre is my everything, is my first love. I'd love to run a theatre one day, although everyone who runs a theatre tells me not to do that. They're just like, obviously all you're thinking about is the toilets. It's, the toilets are broken again. That has a knock-on effect to the whole building. And I think it's obviously like, it's a huge amount of stress, but I think it's just the ultimate community. Is it the ultimate of bringing people together? And I just, when I did a play at Leicester Curve, Nikolai Foster runs that theatre, and he gave us a tour of the theatre, and he knew everybody by first name, from cleaner to chief exec and everyone in between. So he'd wave to them and go, "Hello, hello," and they'd say hello back, and they'd have a little chat, and then the tour took a long time. But I was like, that's leadership. That's what I want to be.
Nikolai Foster is a very, very special individual. And I will add, there are plenty of artistic directors who cannot do that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So running a theatre one day.
Are you hard on yourself?
Yeah. I sort of, I think I'm actually inherently lazy.
Go on.
But, yeah, I have bursts of productivity.
I think you're just describing ADHD, Jack.
Maybe, yeah. No, but yeah, I think I'm hard on myself if I have a habit of over-promising and under-delivering. And I need to flip that urgently, because I don't like making people feel bad. So I'm a people pleaser. So I sort of go, yes, I'll be able to deliver that script next week.
Sure.
And then I leave the meeting and I go, how am I going to do that? That's my problem. And then I beat myself up about it, when actually I should have gone, that's impossible. I can give it to you in 2 months and then see what happens. But I think it's that.
Or the word no.
Or no, yes. Actually, no. Yeah, I forgot about that one. But I think that you sort of, when you, like, you know, through the years of scarcity, when someone offers you a job, it's really hard to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack, this has been such a great evening. Before I finish, what's the question that you wish I had asked you tonight?
I think you covered it all, but what's my favorite song?
Sure, what is your favorite song?
Oh, I should have actually thought of a question. But
this is how this part of the game works.
Right, yeah. No, you can't ask me that. I'm not a people pleaser. No, my favorite song at the moment, it was like a crucial song in Cruise until they revoked the rights and we couldn't use it.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Womack and Womack, Teardrops.
Yeah.
I just love that song so much. It's like, I used to say when we were promoting Cruise, the point of these songs is that they're songs you can dance to and cry to. And Teardrops on the Dance Floor is exactly that.
I can pinpoint the moment that I saw the entire industry fall in love with you, which was the first outing of Cruise, when you say Always on My Mind.
Yeah.
In that moment, I just looked around at a room full of gay men, all going, I love him, and I'd like to go to bed with him. I just saw that lovely moment, and I went, of course, as a writer, you decided to introduce us to that extraordinary character in the style of a musical.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, the romance in your work, your ability to find the right form, even in a matter of seconds to tell a story, it's second to none. We're all so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
That is the end of the show. And for our audience here at the Two Brewers, please do grab a drink at the bar and support this extraordinary queer venue. If you're listening at home, backstage, or in a bar in Skidmore, Missouri, make sure you like and subscribe to the Show People podcast so you're notified the moment the next episode is released. Huge thanks to our sponsors, Theatre Counts, the entertainment industry's most trusted accountants, and to Oliver, Reese, Liam, and all the gorgeous Two Brewers team for letting this be our home. Thank you to Ned Wakely and the Showreel Company for their videography, and to Paul Madeley for capturing tonight's photography. This podcast is produced by Queer Theatre, proud to tell LGBTQIA+ stories and nurture queer talent. If you'd like to get involved in any of our many events, from acting classes to our queer play reading club or our Outcast showcase, please visit queertheatre.co.uk. And if you think our work is important, please consider making a donation too. Now please put your hands together for the one, the only Jack Holden.